said we gon' win. Knock me down 9 times, but I get up 10. Look myself in the mirror, I said we gon' win. Knock me down 9 times, but I get up 10. Look myself in the mirror, I said we gon' win. Knock me down 9 times, but I get up 10. Yeah. But I get up 10. Knock me down 9 times, but I get up 10, bitch. I'ma make a fucking feel me. Said I'ma do a broke bitch.
Welcome back to the Coliseum of Fantasy Knowledge. This is the IDP Fantasy Empire. Come back to you with week 7 already, man. We're almost halfway through the season.
Season is flying, man. We're starting to look at college football and the playoffs. I'm getting excited. Probably not anymore.
I was like, are you excited?
I really am. I think we'll end up getting in there. You don't think so?
I think Michigan will probably beat it.
Michigan has to beat Ohio State.
Yeah.
It goes through Ohio State.
I was really hoping Michigan State was going to pull the upset, so that way two teams that I both hate would both lose on the same day.
Yeah.
Or just been a tie. I'd have been fine with a tie, but they don't do that in the college football. But yeah, Purdue winning was crazy. I didn't honestly think. I thought they were going to lose by 2 touchdowns at least.
Yeah.
And then I turned it on, and I was going in and out of work, and you're like, oh, man, I need to get drunk. I'm like, why? You're like, Ohio State's losing. I'm like, no, they're not.
Well, let's get into that. I've really given up on the Raiders, and especially with the Amari Cooper trade, this is even more fuel to this fire. I am done.
I'm not buying it. Fake news.
Bro, I'm done.
Fake news.
This is ridiculous. Why are they trading away studs?
Because they want to get first round. The fact that they got a first round pick for Amari Cooper, to me, is outstanding. Yeah. Like, it's fascinating that they got a first round pick. No, they didn't.
I saw 2.
I think they just got 1. Unless I got it wrong. I mean, if they got 2, more power to them. But I know they at least got 1, and I'm surprised.
Yeah.
Because I would have given like a third. Like, it would have been my value.
Yeah.
Of Amari Cooper right now.
I know the Raiders are currently sitting on 5 first-round draft picks.
It's crazy, bro.
Yeah.
And just think when
potentially the first overall.
Yeah. They could just take all the pass rushers. They could take 5 of them. That would equal 1 Khalil Mack. Be perfect.
There's a lot of work needs to be done.
Yes. They could draft a lot of a team. A good, 7 would be nice. But then eventually in 4 years, you'd have to pay them all.
Yeah. Do you think them and the Cardinals are playing for a number 1 seed?
I mean, it's possible. I mean, because the Cardinals don't look that good.
They look terrible.
But I think the Bucs look just almost as bad as them. But I think the Bucs will end up sneaking out more wins than the Cardinals will.
Yeah.
But when you have teams that fire their coordinators early on in the season, like we've seen from the Bucs and the Cardinals now, it's just not good. Not good sailing. But I had floated a theory by you today. I'm like, well, what if Jacksonville trades for Derek Carr?
That would be insane,
because that would be an upgrade at the quarterback. Let's be honest, it'd be an upgrade for them, and it'd probably give the Raiders a first and probably something else. Probably a first and I don't know if they give them 2 firsts, but at least a first and some other chunk.
Why not a first and Blake Bortles for Derek Carr? You know, that gives you something now and something later.
Yeah, I feel like they'd have to get 3 of something for a guy they just paid. But if they're planning on rebuilding, why not just rebuild from the ground up? Go out and just have 7 or 8 first-round picks and just make it. They can just go to, what are they still in LA now? Or they're still in Oakland, LA, wherever they're at. When are they going to Vegas?
I think next year.
So they just have the draft in Vegas and just make it a whole Raiders deal. Give them the whole theme, everything.
I think it's in Tennessee next year.
That's sad. It's just not the same.
Complete opposite side of the country.
But I mean, it's fair to say that the Raiders are rolling the dice on this new franchise.
Yeah, definitely. I'm curious what's going on with Reggie McKenzie and John Gruden.
I don't know. I think if they both got bowl cuts, everything would be solved. I think everyone would be kumbaya after that. I don't know. I mean,
bring him into the fold.
Just make another clone. I mean, I think Reggie's made some good moves as a Raiders GM and some bad moves. You know, I think he's made some draft choices that probably weren't the best. Like DJ Hayden's not quite working out, you know, for a first-round pick.
Yeah.
So, I mean,
I believe he's with the Lions, isn't he?
Yeah, but I mean, the Raiders in general haven't nailed a lot of first-round draft picks except for Khalil Mack.
Right.
In the last few years that I can remember. They got a steal in Hurst this year.
Yeah. You
know, for where he was at, but I don't know. I mean, just draft picks are, you know, again, they're scratch tickets, man. You're hoping to hit that $100 every time, and sometimes you get 10, sometimes you get 20, sometimes you get nothing.
Yeah.
So it happens. Draft time is coming up close.
All right, we need to start thinking about next week, and before we go into this week, we'll talk about the teams on the bye. We've got the Atlanta Falcons They're going to be on a bye. The Dallas Cowboys are on a bye. Tennessee Titans are on a bye. And the Los Angeles Chargers.
Yep, they gave the London teams who played this week an off week, just like they did last week with whoever played.
Oh. The Los Angeles Chargers, Joey Bosa is supposed to be back, the 7th?
Week 9 is when he's supposed to try to come back.
7th of November. So if anybody has dropped him, go ahead and grab him and put him on your bench. How do you expect him to perform when he does come back?
I think he'll be slow the 9th week, but I think the 10th week is when he'll pick up. Because I feel like he's probably, hopefully, been training with his brother, getting ready for everything. But I would assume he's had plenty of time to rehab, and the bye week will help him kind of get reacclimated to the game plan.
Are there any Tennessee Titans that you're going out and picking up?
Not really. Not after what I saw. There wasn't enough for me to be like, oh, my God, this guy I have to have.
Yeah.
There's just no one that I'm super excited about.
Dallas Cowboys, obviously, if somebody dropped Sean Lee, go get him. He's playing out of his mind right now. And we'll get into that later on. The Atlanta Falcons.
I'm trying to think of anyone. How did the rookie play this week? Did he?
They actually played tonight. I didn't really notice. I watched the game loosely. I didn't take notes. But he did not stick out to me. I'm actually looking up the box score right now.
Yeah, I don't know if there's anyone on the Falcons that's not already owned that you should go out and get. I think most of the ones you're going to want are there, or you're just avoiding them because you lost Deion Jones and Kamikaze, and pretty much you have so many guys on IR that you have 4 on your roster that are actually on IR. That's real life of my team.
DeMonte Casey is on IR?
No. Okay. I'm just saying I have 12, 15 players on IR this year.
Oh, yeah.
I'm pretty much racking a couple up every week, so I should be full.
Max out those IR slots. You've always got to do that.
Oh, I've maxed.
So, for the defense, Alukan, he went 3 of 6, and that's it. Looks like Jarrett went 3 of 6 on the defensive line. Trufant went 7 of 8.
Yeah, kind of almost the same stat line as last week.
That Riley kid, the safety for the Giants, looks like he was the second leading tackler.
Yeah.
Eli Apple was 3rd.
Yeah.
It's kind of crazy. All D-backs, top 5.
Well, I kind of expected that with Atlanta. They're going to throw the ball around, and they're going to run the running backs in space on the outside. Well, that's good for Riley. That's a guy who I liked when I watched him on tape a couple weeks ago. Hopefully, if you picked him up, he got you some roster points or got you some points that made you get a win. This is a time for the playoff push. You got to decide if you want to get some trades. I think this is the prime trade time. A lot of teams will go a couple weeks out of the playoffs, and that's when you really see a lot of movement or trade deadlines. A lot of leagues have them. Some leagues don't.
Yeah.
I think ours ends in November?
Ours is about a week prior to the actual NFL trade deadline.
Yeah, because last week I think we had so much action just right before everyone was trading. I think it'll happen again this year too.
Yeah.
But if you're in a league like that, be prepared. Start throwing out some feelers with your league mates because, again, it's about to be time to go.
You want to take the first one?
Yeah, I'll take the first one. My first game was the one over in London that started at 8:30 a.m., so obviously no one was awake to watch that.
I actually was at the gym.
Well, that's surprising. I woke up in the third quarter, so that's pretty good. Because I got woken up, so it works.
Honestly, what I like doing with those early games is I like going to the gym and getting on elliptical and just zoning out, watching the game and getting a decent workout in. You know?
Yeah. For a London game, I thought this one had good play. I thought it had good drama at the end. I love it. I really love Variable's play calling. I thought it was awesome. I loved it. So first with the Chargers, because they technically were the home team in this one, you had Perryman go 8 for 6, 1 pass defense, 1 interception. James went 8 for 5. King went 7 for 6. Light had an early one-on-one tackle. The D-line was really moving early in this game, and I like seeing a lot of movement from these guys. I think they have a very underrated D-line, but a decent D-line at the same time. There was a sack by Ingram to stop a drive early for the Titans. The Titans' offensive line looked a little bit better. Now that Taylor Lewan is back. He was back last week when they had the horrible 11-sack game. This week, I felt like him and Conklin were working a little bit better together on the opposite sides. They were kind of protecting a little bit better than they were the week before. Perryman looked really strong early on in this game. Actually, throughout the whole game, to be honest. He had a tackle for loss, and then a little bit later he had a hit where he lost his helmet. And he got up and he was doing the muscle flex. He's like, yeah. He's like, I'm hulking up. And he like ripped his shirt. No, I'm just kidding. But it was awesome. I like seeing guys get hyped when they're out there playing ball. Hayward gets a great stop at the line. It's really nice because a couple weeks ago he was really, really struggling to get to the line and get tackles one-on-one. The Chargers were allowing a lot of rushing yards in the first half. I was kind of surprised to see this because I'm not really scared of the Titans' run game if I'm looking at it from a coaching perspective, but they were letting Dion Lewis just kind of hit holes and get out of there. I still think Derrick Henry's got to do something about that hair, man. It looks like a weird horsetail sticking out the back. You know, the ones they do for like show ponies. That's what that thing looks like. So my dad said it looked like a turd. He's like, what is it? What has he got on the back of his head? Like my dad thought it was like something that was just like a lump or something. It was hilarious. I was like, no, that's his hair. But Derrick Henry wasn't involved with much. It was really the Dion Lewis show. And I feel like the Titans are becoming the ex-Patriots team. They got Logan Ryan. They got Malcolm Butler. They got Dion Lewis. I think they have a fourth ex-Patriot, but I can't think of his name off the top of my head. But I don't know. It's just weird. I think that's curious. Later on, you had James, who loses his wide receiver and gets away for a good 40-yard gain. That's really the first time I've seen Derwin James get burned on anything in a while. There was a quick pass that's broken up for a tackle for loss by Ingram. Ingram was eating on the edge. He was doing really good. He was doing the stiff arm. Later on, he was doing the bull rush and the spin move. He was really incorporating all the tools you want to see out of a defensive end spot. Day had a missed tackle, and the only reason I wrote that in there is because it's rare for me to see him miss tackles. Usually one-on-one, he cleans them up. So that was one where I didn't really understand. I watched it a couple times, still didn't get it. But it happens, I guess. Perryman has a lot of looks really good on the gang tackles. I feel like he was always around. This is a game where I kind of end up honing on him most of the game. Him and James were working really well together as well. The Chargers go on bye next week, so again, there's really no one that I would say pick up. If Perryman is out there, I would go ahead and roster him and just expect, if you have the depth to use him, because as of right now, he's playing really good football. So I can't say anything. I mean, when you get an interception playing that spy role, I really like that. I like when linebackers pop up out of nowhere and take an interception away. For the Titans, you had Brown, who went 7 for 6, 1 sack, 1 tackle for loss. You had Ryan go 5 for 5, 2 pass breakup, and Kay Lewis went 4 for 3. Early on in this game, or actually the first snap for the Chargers, Logan Ryan gets burned by Williams on I think it was like a 55-yard touchdown. It wasn't a move. There was no double move. There was no head nod, anything. It was just straight speed on the outside, and Logan Ryan got burned. Woodyard was looking really good in the first half. He kind of faded away in the second half, which I don't like to see because that's kind of when the game was on the line, and I just didn't really see him that much. Ryan gets a pass breakup to stop the next drive following the Chargers' first touchdown of the game. Casey with a really good coverage sack. I haven't really seen a lot of him in the last couple Titans games I've watched, but I really enjoyed watching him this week. I thought he played really well over there across the pond. Brown gets a sack later on. Correa with a tackle for loss, a guy that was kind of forgotten about. I honestly forgot he played for that team until he popped up, and I was like, oh, crap, that's him. It was good to see him out there. He made a lot of other plays that were not fantasy relevant, but they were football relevant. Brown was really crashing the edge. I noticed that he was eating on the outside. I don't know if he was just picking the weak spot, but he seemed to have found a spot that he liked, and he was really in his groove down there. As a whole for the Titans, I thought their defense looked better than last week. It's still a mid-tier defense for me. There's still a lot of parts that I don't necessarily trust. It's like when you buy a junker and you have certain parts of it that you're not going to have to fix, but there are some stuff that you need to fix. That's how I feel with the Titans defense right now. They're also on a bye next week, so there's no one that I'm rushing to the podium to get. So I'm good for now. The one thing with the Titans that I would like to see is them kind of congeal more as a unit. I feel like there's a lot of individuals and not necessarily a group yet, but that comes with time. Let's talk about the going. Titans went for 2 instead of going for the tie to go to overtime. I like the move. I think more NFL coaches should just put it on the line and, I don't know, just go for it, man. Just risk it. I don't like overtime anymore. I'm done. I'm over overtime.
Really?
Unless the Browns go and tie, I don't care about overtime. That's literally all I want is the Browns to have 2 or 3 more ties this season because I think that'd be awesome.
Yeah.
But I'm over it. I think they need to change the rules. I think college ball would be more fun the way they do it, possession for possession. And, that, I think a lot of fantasy people would be split. Do you think they'd be split on that because it'd give you more fantasy points here and there? Would that be a split, or you'd just be happy with overtime?
I would be happier because I'd have more opportunities. But that also being said, the other team would have more opportunities.
Exactly. But I like going for 2. He had the call in as soon as they scored, and if they wouldn't have had that personal foul, but I'll say Mariota just made a bad throw, and for a guy that I went and got, man, I drafted him in my dynasty, I think. Him and Jameis Winston are just killing me week to week sometimes, man.
Yeah.
I don't know if Mariota needs more weapons or he just needs to become a better quarterback. I don't know what it is at this point. But there were a lot of drop balls on the offensive side for them, and that was really helping the Chargers out. Because if they had had dudes who could actually catch, it would have been a different game in the second half. I don't think they would have lost.
I'm really surprised they came back. Because it started out, the Chargers looked like they were in dominant control.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and I really think it was a lot of drops, man. It's like the Chargers passed on the dropsies to Tennessee. They're like, here, you can have the dropsies for now. Now, everyone was dropping passes. No one was safe from this one. But that's all I got for Across the Pond. Got one more Across the Pond next week, too.
Yeah. That's the last game of the season?
I believe so. And I think they do a Mexico City after that. I'm pretty sure.
Chiefs and
Rams.
Rams, yeah.
Yeah.
God.
The 2 one-loss teams.
I hope the Rams throttle them.
Oh, me too.
Rams didn't lose one this week.
Oh, I'm talking. They're going to lose next week.
Oh, okay. So they're playing the Packers?
Yeah.
Oh, of course. All right. I've got the Cowboys versus the Redskins first. For the Cowboys, DeMarcus Lawrence goes 4 for 7. Sean Lee goes 5 of 6. Smith goes 5 of 6. Woods goes 3 of 5. And Irving gets a sack. There were no interceptions, actually, for the Cowboys. I was kind of surprised. I personally think that Damian Wilson is one of the worst linebackers in the NFL. Do you have a worse linebacker that you could think of?
I don't even know who Damian Williams is.
Number 57 for the Cowboys. I would see him come in, and he looked poor in run support, poor in execution of making tackles, and he looked poor in coverage. He is the backup if one of these guys go down.
Where is he from? What college did he go to?
Couldn't tell you. I don't think he went to college.
Oh, okay. He just played in the School of Hard Knocks.
Yeah, he was a Jerry Jones special. I like this guy. He's got a criminal record.
That's funny.
Lawrence is taking his blocker to the flats, and he's making the ball carrier choose which side they want to go on. And he just goes ahead and he sheds and then makes that tackle. Most of the game, he was making tackles for loss and pressuring the quarterback. That's what we come to expect from DeMarcus Lawrence, again, playing in that contract season franchise tag. Lee looks amazing on the edge right now. We're seeing him go out into space and make tackles. I think with his ability to be a good athlete and what we've seen in years past and less responsibility from these other linebackers, you got Jalen Smith and Leighton Vander Esch, that allows him to trust his eyes and just go for the ball. He came up clutch with a QB spy on third down that saved them from staying in the game. Antoine Woods made a huge missed tackle. This guy has been all over the field most of the game. His number is number 98 or 99. I was thoroughly impressed with how well he played throughout the game. He did end up missing a big tackle that could have stopped the drive. And Chidobe Awuzie, I know he's a guy that we kind of talked about last week. He's so hot and cold, honestly. Did you see the same thing last week?
Yeah, I saw all of that.
More so in coverage than tackling.
Mm-hmm.
Darnell Crawford is flowing downhill well. I think he was a cornerback, one of the nickel corners for this team. Didn't get enough play time to actually make my day. Jones is playing extremely well in press man. I am continually impressed with Byron Jones. Paul is laughing over here as I talk up Byron Jones one more week. But they're really not throwing to him. It's kind of odd. Maybe they're respecting him and his speed and his ability to drive through the football. Next week, the Cowboys are on a bye. I'm not picking up any of these guys, and I'm not dropping really any of them as long as you got the big-name guys. All the linebackers. You got DeMarcus Lawrence, and then Jeff Heath maybe in a deeper league.
Yeah.
So for the Redskins, Zach Brown leads the team for the first time this year. He goes 8-9.
Did you not love my tweet?
I didn't see it.
It was like it's like when he thought Zach Brown was gone. It's like the Undertaker popping up out of the casket.
You got Mason Foster going 6-9. He's had a really good year. I know I picked him up in our auction league. I think I drafted him really cheap.
So yeah, I was saying last week he was going to bounce back. The linebackers are going to eventually come back, and that was the game they finally decided to do it.
Especially against the Cowboys. We typically see this whenever there's a heavy run team. But who knows what the Cowboys are going to be with Amari Cooper.
They're going to be a team that drops the ball a lot. Gains weight.
Josh Norman goes 5 of 5. Ryan Kerrigan goes 4 of 5 with 2 sacks and a pass breakup. Allison and Anderson both get a sack, and there are no interceptions for the Redskins. DJ Swearinger almost picked the ball doing a somersault out of bounds. I think he's been playing really tough. We see Dak Prescott running along the sideline trying to make that extra effort first down, and Swearinger comes out of nowhere and just hits him in the face. It looked like a concussion, and I was like, what are you doing, Dak? I frequently yell at the screen.
I think even Tony said, well, that's a concussion.
Yeah. What was crazy was he started talking about how he knew that it was a concussion, and then he started backing it back because he was like, I don't want to say too much. My boys that are out there, you know.
Like, I think whenever Dak took that shot, like, Tony's back probably just had an immediate pain. He's
right.
like, ooh,
spasm.
Oh, God, my back. I got to stand up. Hold on.
Zach Brown, he came out on the fullback. The fullback tried to block him, and he just destroyed him. He literally just locked him up, threw him off to the side, and then took Zeke down. It was a nasty play. I would like Paul to go back and look at that play. It was awesome. Josh Norman has been playing really well the past couple weeks.
We were talking about that at work last night.
Really?
Yeah, because I was kind of flipping at the game, and then I saw Josh Norman make a play, just happened to be watching it. And I was like, dude, this dude is balling out. Because I talked to a buddy of mine at work who's a Carolina fan, and I was like, I don't know why y'all let him go, because he can still ball now. And I don't know if it's because he's been training with Peanut Tillman the last couple off seasons, but he's like got that arm stride down perfect when he comes in and goes for the ball.
Yeah.
I think the longer his hair gets, the better he's gotten. I just want to throw that out there. It's just a theory, but it's looking pretty true. Like
just wait till he gets that Derrick Henry.
Right? Get that little horsetail going. But I'm telling you, I feel like I don't know if he's just feeling more comfortable. Like he feels like he has help where he can just play more. But last year, he was relatively unheard from because he was just shutting people down.
Right.
This year, he's getting more play, and he's providing really good coverage.
You remember the game when they played against the Raiders? And he was talking about how garbage Crabtree and Cooper were. I will never forget that day. Batman. Or the Dark Knight.
The Dark Knight.
He looks like he's back to form, though. I thought he was spotty earlier on this season. I don't know if you saw the same thing.
I would agree with that 100%.
He actually got a forced fumble as well. Deron Payne makes a good second effort to get his balance back, and he ends up making the tackle. We're not really seeing a lot from this guy. We're seeing this defensive line more as a unit instead of individual players with Jonathan Allen and Deron Payne. Greg Stroman got roasted on a double move. It was insane. Who was it, Gallup? Gallup hit him with the stop or the hitch, and then he kept going. Just wait till they get him in the mark.
Dude, I like Stroman, man. That kid was good at Virginia Tech, and he has a good special teams value, too, if you're looking for cheap special teams value.
I will not be picking up Stroman.
I'm not saying to pick him up. I'm just saying, like, give him some time. I think he'd be decent.
Preston Smith almost got a strip sack, but he forced an incompletion upon further review. That's one of those, hey, it could have came back. Ryan Kerrigan rushed on the outside. He keeps his outside shoulder clean. He gets full extension with his inside arm, and then he shucks the offensive line to make the sack.
Yeah, you sent me that one.
That was one of the best plays that I've seen all week, honestly. It was just textbook from A to Z.
It earned a team diamond for me.
Cover athlete.
I mean, it's the first time he's been relevant all season.
Right.
Fantasy-wise.
All right, we'll talk about that after the show. Later on, he gets a forced fumble, and Preston Smith recovers it. So if Preston Smith would have got that strip sack and you top that on top of what he got with that fumble recovery, he would have had a way better day. We probably would have been talking about him.
Mm-hmm.
Unfortunately, he did not. But maybe next week he will get that. Josh Harvey Clemens. I did not know much about this guy before this game. Had Dak dead to right, and he let him go. It's another one of those sacks that we keep talking about this season. He's getting a lot of playing time, though. He ends up getting a pass breakup on a critical third down. Other than that, I thought he was useless.
And he's got a shooter's name. All serial killers have 3 names.
Josh Harvey Clemens.
Bro, it is. I'm nervous.
It wasn't in doubt. Fabian Moreau was targeted a lot because of his slacking coverage. This is something that we haven't typically seen from him. He's a guy I've been pumping up from UCLA, injured last year. Continue to watch him. He may be one of those guys you want to pick up. Next week, the Washington Redskins are at the Giants. My pickup is going to be Zach Brown, and I only say that because a lot of people probably have dropped him because of his poor play in redraft leagues, and especially if you got a small bench. Josh Norman is balling out of his mind. If you're in a cornerback required league, I would pick him up now. He looked really good on tape. He did not necessarily look good on the stat sheet, though. Up 5 of 5, so he got you 10 points. Next week they play the Giants. Again, Eli Manning makes poor decisions. I would bet.
And you know how Norman hates Odell.
Right. I would bet $1 that he's going to get a pick. I only say $1 because I'm in the penny slots.
Yeah, that wouldn't be a bad bet. I mean, there's a good chance for sure. Or he gets in a fight, one of the two. Because if the Giants start losing, Odell's going to go after him, and we're going to have a nice little fight. I've missed a good brawl. They haven't had one of those in a while. It's kind of disappointing. They're not the NBA, I guess. All right, my next game was the Jets and the Vikings in the Meadowlands. The Jets were wearing their all-green unis, the unis that I really like for the Jets. And Buck and I talked about this earlier today, but there were a lot of color uniforms this week. The Rams did their all-gold, which I absolutely love, and the 49ers did their all whites, which I like. I had some good games with good color uniforms. It just makes it more fun to watch. But for the Jets, the home team, and this game was super windy. I want that to be pointed out. This game had some nasty wind whip. I'm pretty sure if you were in the stands, you probably left with your stuff all blown to pieces because it was bad, man. That was almost like Eagles weather 2 years ago when the wind was 1,000 miles an hour. For the Jets, though, they had Roberts go 11 for 10, 2 tackles for loss, 2 pass defenses. Dude is playing out of his mind. You had Adams go 9 for 6, 3 tackles for loss. You had Nickerson, the rookie, filling in for Buster Screen, and he went 7 for 5, 1 tackle for loss. Roberts gets outplayed by the white wide receiver. If you don't know who that is, that's Adam Thielen, because they talked about him all week. If you watch ESPN, they talked about him all week. He gets beat for him by a touchdown on the Vikings' first drive, but after that, Roberts played really well, man, and I have more notes on him throughout this game. Copeland sniffs out an end around for a tackle for loss. The next play, Copeland almost gets a safety sack. Just ends up, they say that he was down at the 1. It was close. I had a lot of plays like this in this game in particular, where there are a lot of balls or a lot of punts from the end zone, so they're getting a lot of near safeties in this game. Same with the Rams as well when I get to that game. Roberts had a perfect pass breakup. This is like a textbook what you show college kids and what you show high schoolers how to break up a pass. That's what he did, was perfect. He ran hip to hip, and then right at the last second he looked up, jumped up, knocked the ball down. It was really, really nice play. On the very next play, he gets a tackle to stop the drive and force the 3 and out. Jamal Adams gets his first tackle of the loss. He ended up totaling out with 3. Roberts is basically sticking to the ribs of the cornerbacks, and then he actually makes a stick play on one of the wide receivers coming across the middle, and it's beautiful. Just put his shoulder down, boom, right in the ribs, picked him up, threw him down. I love plays like that, especially from smaller cornerbacks. You usually don't see that very often. Reed Brooks should have had a pick in the end zone. Ends up going through his hand. As playing that safety role, he should have run over there and grabbed it, but he just decided to bat it down instead. So it ended up allowing 3 points instead of no points. A lucky pass basically beat Claiborne in coverage for a touchdown. Claiborne, I thought, had the man, but it was just a pass that was put right on the spot, and it's really hard to break those ones up. For me in this game overall, Roberts looked really good, but I'm still on the Nickerson bus of picking him up. Again, we're going to see if Marcus May comes back. They lost Middleton for the year. He tore his pectoral muscle, so he's going to be out for the season. So again, this backfield's still going to be adjusting. So, and I think Nickerson has played well enough that even when Screen comes back, he's going to be in this mix. But Roberts, I mean, he balled out. I don't know how else to say it, but he just balled out. So their next game is going to be at Chicago. They could have the same results, but I still think Nickerson is going to be a top 3 tackler next week.
You know the good thing about him tearing his pectoral muscle, Middleton?
What about it?
He didn't have much there. That guy's a little dude, man.
Yeah,
it's going to grow back fast.
He is a little dude. For the Vikings, they actually had a linebacker be a top tackler, but the top tackler had 5 for 5, 2 pass defenses, and that was Kendricks. Yep. Curse went 5 for 3, 1 sack, 2 tackles for loss, and Smith went 4 for 3, 2 pass defenses, and 1 INT. Cannon, the wide receiver, he smokes Kendricks on the edge. The beanpole gets wide open on the next play for a touchdown. And the next play touchdown, it was just a series of like hit. It was like doing jab, and then uppercut for the touchdown. That was really I thought early on in this game, even to the first half, this game was very competitive on both sides of the ball. Offensively and defensively, these guys were out playing really well. I didn't feel like there was a severe advantage from either team. The D-line wakes up in the second half and really starts putting the pressure on Darnold, and he started having to run and really just get kind of jittery in the pocket like we saw, or at least like I saw all the time at USC. Both teams going into halftime were 0-14 on third down conversions.
Wow.
So I think it actually went to 0-16, but I wasn't 100% sure because I stopped keeping count after a while. But I thought that was a crazy stat that they were just shutting each other down on third downs so much. Just shows that the defenses were playing pretty decent on both sides. Weatherly gets a tackle for loss, then Tom Johnson with a tackle for loss, one-on-one, and then the fourth punt from the end zone that I saw. Again, I mentioned it just like the Rams game, but there were, I think, 5 punts total that were in the end zone. I think 3 on the Jets, 2 on the Vikings. So they're playing a lot of close yardage balls. I thought there were going to be a couple sacks the way this was being played. 2 bad snaps in a row really helped out the Vikings. It really helped them not give up points. Just the fumble, man, just killed them on downs. In the second half, Hendricks gets a tackle for loss. On one of the pass plays to the outside, Rhodes goes down, and it looks like it's his ankle. Found out it's a high ankle sprain. So he may be out next week. He may be limited. We're not going to be for sure until he gets to practice. We'll see how he does, if he does anything. But my boy, Holden Hill gets his first pick in the NFL. I was so stoked, man. I was like, that's my boy coming around the corner and grabbing an interception. I loved it, man. I was so hyped about that. I watched it 3 times. I was so pumped that he actually got an interception coming in after Xavier Rhodes went down. I love it. I hate that Xavier Rhodes went down, but I love that Holden Hill got some playing time and got a pick and was actually productive.
Dang, that sucks.
It don't
Did
suck.
you notice a drop-off whenever in the defense when Rhodes came up?
I didn't necessarily see it, but the game was kind of handled by then, to be fair, in my opinion.
Yeah.
But even with the Vikings up, I really never felt like the Jets were out of it, even though the scoreboard said they were.
Yeah.
You know, it's one of those weird games. It's like watching the Bills and Vikings game. Like, I felt like they were never really out of it, even though the score was, like, way out of control.
Yeah.
You know? But Holden Hill stepped in, man, and he played. And then he was also still doing kick returns. So with all the injuries, the Vikings are now racking up injuries on that backfield. Mm-hmm. You know, you lost Hughes. Trey Wayne's got a little banged up, but I think he's going to be all right. You don't know how long Xavier's going to be out, but they've at least lost 3 or 4 dudes now just in the secondary. Mm-hmm. So I think Green Bay's like putting the curse on them where they have to have the worst secondary because of injuries. Batted ball off the wide receiver, and Trey Waynes actually gets a pick late in this game that really started sealing up the game for the Vikings. For me, if Rhodes is out any amount of time, I'm going to either still go after Trey Waynes, because, again, Hughes is out. Hughes was my guy who was over Trey Waynes. And I think if he wouldn't have gone to IR, he probably still would be. But, man, Holton Hill, I can't say right now go out and get him, but he's definitely on my watch list. If he has a good week next week against the Saints, which, let's be honest, the Saints are going to work the system. Like, they're going to work whoever's out there. So if Rhodes is out, I think Hill will have to step in and play. But he also gives you that special teams boost. He's not a special teams stud, but that's a little extra yardage here and there.
Right.
And again, their next game is at home versus Saints. Playoff rematch. Maybe P.J. Williams won't take a dive this time.
All right, I've got the Bengals versus the Chiefs. For the Bengals, Williams goes 9-12 with a pass breakup and an interception. Bates goes 7-12. Evans goes 4-6. Billings goes 5-5 with the sack. Dunlap ends up getting a sack. There were so many missed tackles throughout this game. One of them, there were 8 missed tackles on Kareem Hunt. He would have been down, but they did not call him down because of forward progress. I was really disappointed on that. It looked like the Bengals thought this too. I don't know. Did you see that play, Paul?
Do what?
Did you see that play where Kareem Hunt ran through 8 players?
Oh yeah, I was kind of watching it at work.
It looked like it was actually Drake Kirkpatrick who wrapped him up.
I was pissed at Kirkpatrick, bro.
It looked like it was forward progression. You know, I figured that because, especially, I got a whole thing on this.
He spun him around.
I got a whole thing on this. He spun him around 1. 2 is the Bengals. So they get charged if they try too hard, you know, and they take a guy through the whistle. They throw a flag, man. The NFL hates the Bengals, man.
Well, there's one player that's responsible for that hatred.
True.
And where was he on that play? Why didn't he clean up that play? He should have came in and headhunted on Kareem Hunt. Just come in, give him an elbow, boom, right to the head. I mean, come on, man.
But
that's what I expect out of you.
I was really surprised that this play didn't get called down. But, of course, it was on Sports Center, and we live in Chiefs Kingdom, so we have to suffer through it.
Dude, imagine hearing it on the radio. We had to listen to it at the radio on work. And I think they replayed that thing on the radio like 6 times.
Look at this play.
Dude, whenever they come back from commercial, they always do a highlight play.
Really?
So if it's like a touchdown, they redo the call. I'm like, bro. The dude who's like the Chiefs fan, like he gets all excited because he thinks it's live. I'm like, Brian, that happened like 10 minutes ago, bro. Like, calm down, dude. Jesus.
Desk pop.
Pretty much.
Sean Williams looked like he was on skates most of the first quarter. He actually went 9-12, which is really impressive. And he must be pretty good because he intercepted Patrick Mahomes. And we all know how great Patrick Mahomes is.
Mm-hmm. Jesus don't walk on water all the time.
Tony McRae had a good angle on Kelsey. He was coming down, and then Kelsey runs around a engaged blocker. When he does this, McRae actually gets caught up in the block and cannot get back. Kelsey ends up making a touchdown down the sideline. No, it was a long gainer. Geno Atkins ends up blowing up a play and gets into the backfield for a huge tackle for loss. One thing that disappointed me about Atkins is I saw him loafing whenever he could have caught Patrick Mahomes. Patrick Mahomes is just rolling out really slow. I don't like seeing this because from that defensive tackle spot, he's one of those guys that you depend on, one of the top defensive tackles in the league to get you points. And we're seeing more play out of Andrew Billings with 5-5 and a sack.
I really like Andrew Billings too. I liked him in the draft process as well. Kid who played at Baylor, I saw a lot of him. Big dude. Really good power lifter as well. Just side note.
And lo and behold, Nickerson is getting a lot more playing time over Ray.
Yeah, V. Ray, thanks for those 0 points this week, asshat. Dude, I was telling Buck this just before we started the show. Last year, my defense carried my team because my offense sucked. This year, my offense is on fire, and my defense is fudging trash.
Mm-hmm.
Trash can, bro. I might as well just put everyone on IR because I'm pretty much done with my defense. I'm going to ride or die with my 5 running backs. That's all I have is 5 running backs now. That's all I got.
So, next week, the Bengals, they play versus the Buccaneers at home. The Buccaneers don't really have a running game unless it's within the 20 yards for a touchdown. So, I'm going to be starting all my defensive backs and my cornerbacks, safeties from the Bengals. That's Williams Bates. Who else you got?
Kirkpatrick.
Kirkpatrick,
He
yeah.
gets started out a lot.
But nobody I'm running to the waiver wire pickup.
No, and
I'm assuming Williams is owned.
Yeah, watch the hip injury that he got later on in the game. Vontaze, whatever. He got that, so watch for that one because I'm going to have to go out and pick up some Cincinnati linebackers, I suppose.
For the Chiefs, Skandrick goes 5 of 6 with a pass breakup. O'Daniel goes 4 for 4. Jones goes 3 for 3 with the sack. Fuller goes 3 for 3 with the pass breakup, and Ford gets a sack. Parker actually got a pick 6. Skandrick looks really good in coverage, though. I don't know. Do you like what you're seeing from Skandrick?
Nah, I still don't like Illusion District.
Really?
I'm sorry, I don't.
I think he looks really good out there, man. He had a pass breakup. He made a good tackle the next play. The guy really shut down what came his way with the Bengals. Chris Jones got a lot of pressure the entire game. It looked like he was just shredding those interior linemen. The Bengals, I think if I'm going to think about what their best asset is on the offensive line, I would say their interior linemen, wouldn't you? Mm-hmm. Not necessarily their tackles. Yeah. The fact that Chris Jones was shredding them, that is something that I love seeing, especially whenever they're going and playing the Broncos next week.
Yeah, I
would be starting Chris Jones. Ford ended up getting a strip sack. The offense actually recovered the ball. Breland Speaks had a good dip and under for a tackle. We see Von Miller do this a lot, and he's kind of the benchmark for what's expected from that dip around the edge. We're seeing a lot better play from Breland Speaks as he progresses his rookie season. He had a fumble recovery last week.
Mm-hmm.
Right, you covered them.
Yes, he did.
Terrence Smith ended up getting injured, and he goes to the locker room. He's one of these linebackers who kind of plays for Reggie Ragland in pass downs. It looks like they wanted to throw Dorian O'Daniel out there. I thought O'Daniel looked energized. He's exploding through the ball carrier and scraping off blocks really well. He's taking his guys down on initial contact.
Good.
So, one of those guys to watch out for next week. Nelson went all the way out for a dive on an interception. Unfortunately, the ball fell right through his hands. Derek Nottie had a decent game. He was always flowing towards the ball, not necessarily making the tackles or getting right in their face. But I like seeing this from a big guy, especially one of these rookies for the Kansas City Chiefs.
Out of South Florida.
Right. We're seeing this defense kind of gel right now. And I think this defense has that ability because the offense is throwing up so many points. You know, they're kind of like, hey, let's try this.
They're up like working. 21 points by the end of the first quarter.
Right.
It was ridiculous.
Right. So that allows the Chiefs to call more blitzes and dial up those pass rush plays. Next week, the Chiefs are versus the Broncos in Kansas City. I'm going to be picking up Dorian O'Daniel or Orlando Skandrick. Preferably Skandrick if you're in a cornerback required. I think that's the play. Just thinking about just this team. Dorian O'Daniel has a lot of work to do. I thought he looked good out there. I think he can look great in weeks to come.
Mm-hmm. I hope so. I need the linebacker help on my team. That'd be a nice little rookie addition. Tip of the cap to you, sir. Okay, my next game was the Patriots at Chicago. You had the Bears, the home team, that Trevathan went 10 for 10. Fuller went 5 for 5, 2 pass defenses, 1 INT. Smith went 5 for 4, 1 sack, 1 tackle for loss. Again, thought Trevathan would have a good week, and he ended up racking up some tackles. He looked good out there. There was one play where he bounced off his helmet, and it was hilarious. Early on, Mack had a missed tackle.
Off the top of his hat.
Yeah, off the top of his chrome dome. Just went right over. Bilal Nichols, a guy who we really talked about a lot in the draft process out of Delaware. This is the first time I've really seen him, man. He actually showed up and made some plays. He rushed up the middle and caused a quick throw by Tampa Bay. Later on in that game, he almost got a pressure sack. I was seeing more of him. I kept looking for that 98 off that defensive line, and he was rotating in and playing really well with Goldman. I feel like Goldman was taking a double team, and Nichols was winning those one-on-ones. That could be dangerous, man. If they can get him going, I think that could make the offensive line have to adjust. Honestly, I felt like Khalil Mack was really a non-factor in this game. Everyone's going to blame the ankle, but I think teams have just done it. And I think he may have worn himself out. I think the Bears need a bye week to get him re-energized because I think he passed on all his great pass rushing ability to Aaron Donald for a while. I think they're just swapping back and forth to make sure they're number 1 and number 2. So we'll see how that goes.
It's all about the money, man. You got to follow the money.
Yeah. True. Kowalski punches the ball out of Patterson's hand on a kickoff return, and the Bears recover. Just great come around. It's pretty much a lucky punch, but he punched it out anyway. Nichols had a tackle for a loss, and then the next play, he even got a forced fumble on Sony Michel. So again, showed up. I wanted to tease that out with saying he played really well. The slants were really killing the Bears. Like I mentioned, the last 2 Patriots game, that's what the defense has to prepare for. They're going to play a lot over the middle because Tom Brady doesn't throw deep if Gronk's not there, honestly. He's very protective of his deep ball. Honestly, I think he doesn't trust his deep ball anymore. But that's something for someone else to break down, I guess. Amos knocks the football out of the tight end's hand, and it kind of rolls back around, and the ball flips out, and Fuller gets a pick. If Amos would have gotten there, he'd have been gone. Like, no one would have caught him. That would have been a pick 6. Look, I really think Roquan might have a breakout next week and actually may be the leading tackler. I just see it coming. I thought he played really, really well. I thought he had way more than 5 total tackles. I thought he was up there like 8 or 9, to be honest with you. But again, this is going to be at home against the Jets, and the Jets are going to try to establish a run early because Corwell had a crappy game. So they're really going to try to pound the ball with him early on to see how it goes. And if he's playing on the opposite side of Mack, they're probably going to run his direction. So I expect him to hopefully seal off the edge like he did in college all the time. For the Patriots, you had Chung go 7 for 6, 1 pass defense. Van Noy goes 6 for 6, 1 tackle for loss, 1 fumble recovery, 1 touchdown. Hightower went 5 for 5 and a blocked punt. You had Jay Jones with a rush to force an incomplete pass. This kid was playing really good, man. I'm probably mentioned him 3 or 4 more times in this note session. Van Noy sets the edge and moves his blocker to the sideline to stop the run. Now, this is one of those plays that we talk about that have no fantasy value, but it has football value. Like, I mean, Van Noy took his blocker, like you go up on a tackling dummy, and he pulled him all the way over to the sideline to extend that run, and the running back had no choice but to go out of bounds. Mm-hmm. You know, he didn't make the tackle, but he forced out. Mm-hmm. So, you know, I feel like he should have gotten him at least a forced tackle, you know?
Yeah.
Because he just made that play happen. That was one that really got me. It was one that you don't see that often anymore, and I really love seeing that. The Pats were getting really close to Trubisky, but he just keeps escaping. It was like watching the Vikings game last week, where Kirk Cousins just magically got the ball out right before he was going to get hit. Yeah. You know, the pressure was always there, but he was just getting the ball out.
You know that Van Noy play you talk about, it's hunting season, and it's illegal to run deer, and that's just what it reminded me of.
Yeah.
You know how you got that deer right next to you, and you just start driving?
Van Noy looks on point in the first half. Again, I mean, he's going to get a touchdown later on in this game. Not to give you a spoiler alert, but that's what happens. There was a play right before halftime where Cohen backtracked faster than the defender can tackle. Like, the defender started tackling, he just backtracks. It's like, and then he just goes back around. It was crazy. It was like a play on Madden where you just smack the joystick like 6 times. He just jukes back and then goes forward. It was nuts. Like, it meant nothing, but it was hilarious. It was embarrassing for, I don't even remember who tackled or tried to tackle, but God, it was funny. Because it's like a little backtrack. It's cool.
It was probably a Landon Roberts.
I would love to see him and Tyreek Hill like running routes at the same time. Because it'd just be like,
we're trying to tackle each other.
Yeah. Yeah, like an extreme game of tag. Like, that'd be pretty cool. I would pay good money to watch that. Gilmore got juked by the quarterback. Got juked by Trubisky.
He's not really athletic. He's more of a straight line runner.
That's probably why they restructured his contract this week or last week. Hightower blocks a punt. Van Noy gets a touchdown. Hightower basically took that ball on a kick to the face, but he got the blocked punt. I loved it. I was actually just saying that they were probably going to do something on special teams again. It ended up happening. As soon as I left the room to go to the kitchen, that's when it happened. So don't take punts off sometimes. And again, this goes along with my theory last week. There have been a lot of freaking blocked punts. At least in my games, I keep getting blocked punts.
Yeah.
So, I don't know what's going on with that.
None to report at this time.
You have none to report? I have 2.
I have none.
That's crazy, man. I keep getting all the block punts. Man, it's crazy. Later, Jackson had one of the coolest picks that I have ever seen. He basically was running back towards the ball with the wide receiver because the quarterback was out of the pocket. He runs down and basically catches the ball in his arm, like right in almost the crease of the elbow. Just boop, Popeyes it, as I'm going to call it. And then he goes to the ground, then gets up and he has it. It was awesome. That was one of those plays that was just super cool to watch. I think I even sent that to you last night when I was watching the film because I was just like, bro, he just one arm catches that thing and just brings it to the ground. I love plays like that you haven't seen. Later on, Jay Jones has a one-handed pick, full extension, hand up in the air, grabs it, brings it in. The Patriots were like actually having highlight reel interceptions. It's the first time I've seen their defense do anything like this this season for me. Claiborne had a beautiful...
Did Trubisky throw to the left?
A couple times. But you know what's funny is my mom and dad were up here. My dad was watching the game while we left. And when we came back, I was like, oh, watch Trubisky. He won't throw to the left.
Yeah.
And then there was one play where they ran, I think it was Howard, over to the left side. And Trubisky threw it, and it was like way behind him.
Yeah.
Like, could have been caught. My dad's like, what the hell? I'm like, I told you, Trubisky, don't throw to the left. He's like, yeah, because he sucks. Like, because the ball was even a wobbler, and it was not that far of a pass.
Yeah.
It was crazy. Like, it was just one of those, once you hear about it and you see it, you're like, oh, my God.
Yeah.
It was just a simple, like a running back screen that should have been completed. Even with the pressure he had, he still should have been able to get that one off. Later on in this game, Claiborne has a beautiful edge off the run, or beautiful sack off the edge. Again, just took the left tackle all the way back, drove him back, and then made the sack. Pretty much the play calling against the Patriots defense was Burton. I think he had like 1,000 catches, 100-some yards, and a touchdown. The dude, I mean, that was Trubisky's guy, was just tossing the ball to Burton. I don't know why the Patriots didn't put another body on him and just try to take him out of the game because I don't feel like anyone else is making plays out there that could have competed with him.
Right.
The Patriots almost let White score on a Hail Mary. Good thing Van Noy got pressure on him. It was one of those plays that White turned around, almost got in, but got hit right at the 1-yard line and driven backwards. I honestly thought they had it, and I was like, oh, my God, we're going to go to overtime. I was like, I got to watch this game later. Don't go to overtime, please. And it didn't. And the Bears lost, so everything was good yesterday. For my pickup, I really think Jay Jones is becoming a playmaker. This is the second week in a row I've watched him, and I feel like he's growing both weeks. And I really like the play that I'm seeing from him. He's really becoming a kind of a spark plug in that secondary. So he'd be a pickup for me because their next game is at Buffalo. And Buffalo, I have no idea who the hell their quarterback's going to be. I think Derek Anderson's like, man, I don't know why they signed me. I suck. Again, I didn't cover that game, so we'll see how that one goes when you cover it.
All right, we've got the Bills versus the Colts.
Segue.
For the Buffalo Bills, Edmonds goes 7-7 with a pass breakup. Teron Johnson goes 7-7, no pass breakups. Hyde goes 5 of 5. Poyer goes 3 of 5. No sacks, no interceptions, and realize I did not say Matt Milano. So, Star Latulele and Phillips are doing work on the defensive line. They are shredding people. Star had a crazy body shed. He just grabs the guard and throws him off to the side, almost like he's there for like candy or something. And his mom's like in the way, you know what I mean?
Surprise, mother.
He almost sacked Luck later on in the game, but he didn't get home. So that would have been nice to have. Surprisingly, the Bills, who destroyed and throttled, the Titans a couple weeks ago?
Yeah, and they also beat the Vikings in Minnesota.
Right. Had no sacks on Andrew Luck.
That's crazy. For how bad the Colts line is, I'm shocked.
Yeah.
Yeah, not shocked. I mean, I'm surprised.
Harrison Phillips had a running back run right by him, and he just stuck his arm out, and the running back fell like 3 yards later. It saved a huge gainer.
Did it make that sound when it hit? Blink.
Pretty much. And a coin shot up in the air. Teron Johnson had a good blitz through the C-gap. Tight end tried to come out and grab the 9-tech. He made a beautiful open field tackle later. I'm really enjoying this dude, man. They're using him as that. They're sending him on cornerback blitzes and everything else. Teron Johnson. He's fun to watch. That's Paul's dude. Milano and Edmonds are filling running lanes continuously throughout this game. Edmonds was stealing most of the tackles, though. Edmonds does need to work on his pursuit angles. It looks like he's going where the running back was instead of where they're going.
That's funny. The highlights on the TV right now are Buffalo and Indianapolis. I'm going to see if you tell it to me live.
Jordan Poyer is allowing a lot of catches. We haven't really seen this from years past.
Oh, I saw it in my last game I covered with the Bills.
In years past.
Oh, years. Okay, I got you.
I don't know what's going on with him. Was he in a contract year last season?
I don't remember. Honestly, I really don't.
He is not tackling with authority, and he is catching the offensive player. Seeing that a lot this year. Milano, dude, what I love about this dude is this dude will diagnose a play, and then as soon as he sees it, he'll just like step 1 foot and he's gone. And then as he's going after this dude, he just launches his body, dude. It's insane.
So do you think he like breaks it down like Sherlock Holmes? Like all of a sudden it goes slow-mo. He's like, the running back takes a sidestep here. I'm going to go here. I'm going to launch my body here and make the tackle.
I guess, man. This dude's so fun to watch.
I swear there are guys out there that like time slows down for them when they're reading a play. I really do think those guys are out there.
I think Paul Posluszny is reincarnated into Matt Milano. Honestly, dude, that's what I think of. I think of a young Paul Posluszny.
I see Paul walking over and like touch him on the shoulder and be like, "You're next."
It just breathes the spirit out.
It's like Space Jam. It just gets sucked into his body. It's your turn, kid.
Lorenzo Alexander realized that the ball was snapped over Luck's head, and he punches it out of the back of the end zone as him and Luck were fighting over it. That could have been a sack, honestly. I know we always talk about what ifs and what could have happened. Lorenzo Alexander is going to get a lot of points for that sack, depending on how your league is structured.
Mm-hmm.
Next week, they're against the Patriots, and where do the Patriots like to attack? They like to attack
the middle,
over the linebackers, or in the slot. So, Teron Johnson is probably already owned, especially in the cornerback start 1.
And everyone who listened to me,
right? And if he's not, a guy that has been playing poorly and is worth picking up is Micah Hyde. Especially coming back from injury this week.
Yeah, when I see Micah Hyde playing bad, I get like that Justin Tucker look. Like, go big old wide eyes, like, what?
Oh, he looked like he was on shrooms, man.
Did you see him come out? He actually came out for the presser after the game. I thought that I gave him mad respect for that because he was like, I just want my kid to be able to see this one day and see that I step out and be like, yeah, I messed up.
Yeah.
I don't usually miss. I missed it. It happens. I like that stuff, even from a kicker. That's some pretty cool stuff to do.
Yeah.
I like that extra little extra.
I don't like kickers, so.
I don't think anyone likes kickers after this year, honestly.
For the Colts, Leonard goes 12 of 17. That is absolutely insane. He's averaging 15 solos.
Oh, why didn't I draft him?
Right.
I should have drafted him.
So I took Josie Jewell, Tremaine Edmonds, and Roquan Smith before Leonard was drafted, and I'm kind of regretting it.
Oh, why didn't I take him over DJ Chark? Decisions. I want to do a redraft.
Mitchell, he is a guy that is coming from the Steelers. I don't think they traded for him. They just picked him up. He went 7-7 with 2 pass breakups and an interception. Kenny Moore goes 5-7 with 2 pass breakups and an interception. Walker gets you a big 1 solo and 4 assists. He goes 1 of 5. Teray and Sheard both had sacks, and Seymour had an interception. I'm not really sure who Seymour was. He did not pop off in the whole film. Anthony Walker is flowing well and matching up well against man-to-man with the running back. He looks solid whenever he squares up to tackle as well. Marcus Hunt ended up getting a bat down at the line of scrimmage. We're seeing him excel in, year 32 of his life?
Mm-hmm.
Matthew Adams was held back whenever he was going to sack the quarterback. We continually see this. This is the second game that I've mentioned that. A guy ends up holding back as they're going to sack a quarterback. Mike Mitchell ends up forcing a fumble, and Darius Leonard recovers the ball. He jumped the route for a pick before the half. It was clutch, and he was flowing throughout this whole defense, the whole game. Alquandrum Muhammad got a one-arm tackle and is showing that he has a high motor throughout the field. I don't know much about this dude. I haven't seen him in weeks past. But I do like his high motor, and that can typically lead to more tackles. It's nice to have guys like that on the defensive line. Mm-hmm. Al Woods ends up tipping the ball, and Hunt almost got a pick six from the 7-yard line. Dang. It was insane. It fell right into his hands, and he dropped it. Nice. Big old Marcus Hunt. Kamoko Toure ends up forcing a fumble, and Quincy Wilson recovers the ball and takes it to the 1-yard line of the opposition.
Dang.
That's one of those, hey, man, if he would have got one more yard, that would have been a touchdown for him, and he would have blown up on your bench, because you're not starting Quincy Wilson. Kenny Moore made a huge hit, destroying the wide receiver in space. Jabal Sheard stopped in the quarterback's face, or else he would have had another sack. It was stupid. And he's like, hey, I'm here to sack you. What do you want to do? Can I take you down? Oh, okay. Quincy Wilson had the ball bounce off his face mask, or else he would have had another interception. Again, he would have blown up on your bench. Mm-hmm. Next week, they're at the Raiders, and they have no wide receivers that are under 20.
Okay.
Or under 30.
No disrespect, Jordy Nelson in front of me now.
Under 30. I'm going to pick up Mike Mitchell. He's playing really well. Playing for Clayton Gathers, right? Clayton Gathers did practice the whole week and didn't show up for the game. Mm. So keep that in mind. I would not jump too high on the waiver wire, but do pick up Mitchell if you can.
Okay. All right, my next game up was the Jacksonville Jaguars, what used to be Saxonville, but now it's just Crapville. They were at Jacksonville. I wrote that backwards. They weren't at the Texans. I don't know. Wherever they were, they sucked. So I'm pretty sure they were in Jacksonville. Let's go ahead and start with the Texans instead. With the Texans, you had Cunningham go 10 for 8, 1 forced fumble. Clowney 7 for 7, 2 sacks, 2 tackles for loss. Should have actually had 4 sacks if he would have gotten there just a bit sooner. Joseph went 7 for 7, 1 pass defense. Bortles falls and fumbles on the second play of the game and set up the Texans with an easy fumble recovery. Clowney stuffs the run 2 plays in a row. Then he gets a near sack for a safety. Covington is making really good effort plays so far in this game, all the way into the third quarter. I really saw him on the screen. Bortles fumbles again by the goal line, setting up the Texans with a nice little easy dunker in there for a touchdown. Merciless gets a strip sack. I think he ended up having 2 forced fumbles in this game. But again, he's not going to really pop on your radar unless you're in a high sack league or a high fumble league, which is really rare. Clowney with a sack off the edge. Matthew off the edge for a sack. With the Texans, I felt like they were just playing a team who's really beaten down right now. And, I mean, when you get to play against, who was it, Yates? Or who the hell was their quarterback in the second half? I don't even remember now because it was just so bad I didn't care.
I think it was Chad Henne.
Yeah. Pretty much should have been. Could have been anybody. But, yeah, it's just, I don't know if I want to build this up as the Texans are just really good, but they just played a team that was really bad right now. With the Dolphins, they're going to be playing them at home next week. I still like to see McKinney improve more. He was my waiver wire last week. He'll probably still stay the same. I feel like, again, he's on that upswing. I think he was the fourth tackler in this one. So he's getting there. I just think I don't think Clowney's going to go 7 for 7 next week against the Dolphins. For the Jags, you had Campbell go 9 for 5, Smith went 8 for 7, and Miles Jack went 7 for 6. So again, Campbell leading the team. I like it when he does. The big takeaway from this game, before I get into the actual game notes, is what's happening, let's just say, around the Jaguars organization. They benched the quarterback because he was sucking, and he has been the last 3 weeks. Then afterwards, there was a lot of scuffling and trash talking going on in the locker room. And I don't necessarily have a problem with that. I think that's fine. Sometimes you got to talk it out or yell it out. But I guess they opened the locker room a couple minutes earlier than they were expecting to, and reporters are saying that they saw Calais Campbell holding back Ngakoue from somebody. And Ngakoue's like pretty much almost shredding Campbell. And Campbell's a big dude. Let's not lie. He could probably hold about anybody back. Right. But he was barely able to hold him back. And I don't know. I think this is one of those teams that they have a really good defense. But the thing is, their offense is killing them. Like, when you're turning the ball over inside the 20-yard line twice, you're not setting anybody up for success at all.
No.
You know? You could have the best defense ever, but if your offense doesn't do anything and is causing the opposite direction, you know, I can't put that on there. You know, Ramsey looks a little shook, but again, they're getting put in bad spots, man, where they can't go out and be confident. It's like what you just said about Kansas City. They're scoring many points so their defense can do what they want to do.
Right.
That's what Jacksonville needs to do to really take that.
Don't get me wrong. I don't think the Chiefs can do anything they want to do, but they get to experiment.
Yeah. And I think Jacksonville has the playmakers that they could do what they wanted to do if they had a lead. You know, I feel like they could shut people down once they're up by 10 because they'll play a little bit looser. Getting into the notes, Flower gets a sack after Ngakoue makes Watson step up into the pocket. You had Hopkins got the best of Ramsey on a nasty one-handed grab. I think he was even number one on SportsCenter last night. And Ngakoue, man, he's being really effective in this first half, and he is showing me a lot of effort that I did not see 2 weeks ago. He seemed like the fastest guy out there, and he seemed like the guy who was carrying the most. So maybe that's why he was trying to get a dude to the locker room for not doing their jobs. Yeah. I don't know. I don't know what was said, but he obviously had enough energy throughout the game and into the locker room. But I was really impressed with Ngakoue, man. He really stepped up for me. There was a near pick in the end zone. The next play, Miller hits the hole, and the defense gets knocked backwards. The offensive line, it's one of those where the interior defensive linemen were basically standing up too straight, and so they're just getting pushed back easily. You know,
Nice.
They weren't digging down and getting any push. The wide receivers are just outplaying the Jags cornerbacks at this point. They're just kind of running in the perfect holes. You have Fuller out there playing really well. You had Hopkins out there playing really well. Ramsey got beat inside by Hopkins for a touchdown. Again, it was just a slant route, a little long crosser. Just a side note, DJ Chark laid out the punt returner. It was nasty. It made me go, ooh! And I had to rewind it and watch it because I do like DJ Chark. But
everybody loves Chark.
It's a nice hit. It's all about LSU wide receivers, man.
Mm-hmm.
For Ngakoue may be the guy I pick up. If he continues to play with the same passion I saw next week versus the Eagles, again, they're playing at home against the Eagles. This is going to be, or no, they're going to be in London. I'm sorry, so not at Jacksonville. They're going to be in London. I think Ngakoue could really show up again, man. Hopefully jet lag don't hit him too hard, but I really like Ngakoue, man. I thought his play was very well this week.
All right, I've got the Detroit Lions and the Miami Dolphins.
Ooh.
For the Detroit Lions, Davis goes 6-7 with a sack. Tabor goes 4-7. Aquara, the guy I warned you about last week, goes 5-6 with a sack. Diggs goes 4-4, and John Francois gets 2 sacks. No interceptions. I don't have much for this game because not much happened. Actually, I have more for the Dolphins. I thought the defensive line did a really good job noticing the offensive line schemes, the traps, the screens, etc. There was lots of communication between them play by play. Quandre Diggs is a really good blitzer, but that's about it. I'm not really impressed with Quandre Diggs in coverage.
You never have been. You haven't really been on the...
Do you like Quandre Diggs?
I think he has good games, but I think a lot of time he's a liability.
Okay. Do you ever feel confident starting him?
No, I could always find better options, to be honest with you.
Right. Tease Tabor looks really nice on the read and execution of the option. Davis is diagnosing and releasing to the flats instinctually. He's always been good at this, but it's really one of the first few Lions games that I've covered this year.
Really?
Yeah, I think you've had most of the Lions games.
Huh. I didn't know that.
You like watching your freaking dudes, man. All of the NFC North.
What do you
mean?
I don't know
why.
All
like,
the NFC North.
You do enjoy. I think you're a bigger Bears fan than a Packers fan.
How? I like more.
You watch more Bears games.
I like more of the Vikings defense than I do anyone else's, and that's hard to say.
I'm giving you hell. Slade did get set up on a Drake one-cut run. Drake came in, and then he was gone. He got slayed. You know,
wordplay.
Tabor looks decent in this game in coverage. Honestly, I was really impressed seeing him from Florida. Another Florida dude, and you know what we think about Florida dudes.
Poopy.
Next week, they're against the Seahawks, and the guy I'm picking up is Aquara. I am guaranteeing you that he will get at least one sack.
Isn't the dude from Tulane? Is he a rookie?
I don't know, man. Aquara from Detroit Lions.
Oh, no, it's not the guy I'm thinking of. I don't think so.
I think you're thinking about the guy that plays for the Giants.
No, I'm pretty sure he went to Detroit, I thought. I don't know, man. Now you got me all confused.
Maybe.
Jerk.
For the Dolphins, we've got Raekwon McMillan. Where did he go to school?
Raekwon McMillan? I don't remember.
Ohio State.
I really didn't remember. I wasn't saying that just to be anti-Ohio State. I just don't remember.
He goes 7 of 8. McDonald goes 6 of 8. Spence goes 3 of 6. And Jones goes 5 of 5. Branch ends up getting a sack, but there were no interceptions for the Dolphins. Lions keep running to the outside to beat the linebackers and the defensive ends. It's really one of their best features is their linebackers. Howard is making most of the tackles in the first quarter. And I kid you not, Kiko Alonso jumps 10 yards up in the air. Like, it was insane. But he sees the quarterback, he sees he's going to throw, and he's like, throws his cape on, and he is gone. He ends up getting a pass breakup. He actually lost his helmet 3 times this game. That kind of scares me because this could lead to concussions, getting that hit and it going the wrong way. But, dude, get a helmet, man. Get a helmet that fits. It's way too big. There's no reason why it's falling off. Raekwon McMillan ends up getting a forced fumble, and I thought he looked amazing, man. This is the Raekwon McMillan that we saw at Ohio State, or I saw. Paul only watched one game of him. Knifing through blockers and tackling with authority. It's finally time to pick up Raekwon McMillan. For the longest time, I used to complain about how he couldn't disengage or shed blocks at the pro level. We're finally seeing that. Again, this is with the Detroit Lions, a team that is not necessarily known for the running game, but they're getting it together. He's getting off, and then he's going to the sideline. Spence had a decent game with penetration and a rush defense. I was kind of impressed with this dude. I didn't know much about him. Jones ends up getting a touchdown-saving tackle. I thought he was really disruptive this game. I love seeing Rashad Jones out there. He's one of those guys that's going to be retiring in the next couple of years. I really don't know who they're going to replace him with, but maybe that's Minkah Fitzpatrick playing safety. Who knows?
Could be.
Andre Branch ends up getting a huge hit on Stafford, and it looked like he was counting the snap. I think I tweeted that to you.
Yeah.
It's pretty insane.
And he was getting off right at the snap. It was cool.
TJ McDonald could have made a big play, but he got shoved to the ground. Next week, the Dolphins are at the Texans. My waiver wire pickup is Raekwon McMillan because I think he's going to get quite a few opportunities to make tackles.
Alrighty. My next game is the New Orleans Saints versus the Baltimore Ravens. Another team who should have wore their all-purples because it would have been perfect, but it's whatever. This is another game I really like, and I want to make the comparison that this is they're two good teams, but I feel like this would be an awesome playoff matchup, even though it never happened unless they went to the Super Bowl. But I really like this matchup. I think both these teams are really well equipped for each other, and I'll kind of get into that with the notes. For the Ravens, the home team, Mosley went 16 for 11. 16 for 11. It was crazy. Waddle went 7 for 5. Jefferson went 6 for 5. Suggs, the Halloween mask, his time is approaching. He had a tackle for loss. Jimmy Smith gets a rob call after pass interference. I really thought it was a bad call by the officials. Z Smith gets a pressure hit on Breeze, and then does the Carlton, man. He was, because at the time everyone thought it was a fumble. They end up ruling it that his arm was going forward, a la Tuck rule. But I thought it'd been awesome if he was doing the Carlton while they scored. I'm not gonna lie to you. I thought that'd have been super awesome. To me, the Ravens were playing solid D. They were giving up yards, but then at the end they were winning the one-on-one tackles. I feel like Mosley I feel like he had a clone out there, or he's the Flash, because he just seemed to be everywhere. I mean, when you go 16 for 11, you're probably going to be somewhere everywhere. But Mosley was just unstoppable. It was nuts. I feel like he knew where the ball was going to be going to every time. Smith makes a great catch on the sideline. The defender couldn't get there in time. Is Traquan Smith, the rookie from UCF or USF? USF. Suggs gets another sack later on in the game. Breeze gets another quarterback sneak for a first down. The only reason I mention that is because that doesn't happen a lot, but they seem to get Breeze in there a lot. And this Hill dude, man, he was in on so many offensive snaps, man. Like, he was playing everywhere. He was playing in the corner. Like, I swear he was playing on defense at one point, but I'm not for sure. But he does punt returns. He plays quarterback. He plays the option. He plays outside. He plays in the slot. I love players like this that are versatile. I think it's an awesome thing to watch. Because I'm not going to lie, there's part of the time where I'm like, damn, is Drew Brees running the ball? I'm like, oh, no, that's Hill. Never mind. My bad. Watching the wrong guy. Smith gets outplayed on the inside pass for a Saints touchdown. I'm really liking Smith this week, or next week. I really feel like this game, he had some ups and downs, but it was mostly positives. And I think this is really him coming back to playing form after his suspension. They're going to be going to Carolina next week, which is going to be a tough game. And we know how much like Cam likes to run. If he could come off his block and have safety help with Weddle, I feel like he could be really effective in shutting down that run game. But again, Mosley was playing ungodlike. It was just nuts, man. It's like he was just on another level completely. I feel like he stayed above his team. For the Saints, you had Klein go 7 for 5, 1 tackle for loss. Crowley went 6 for 6. Davis went 6 for 5, 1 pass defense, 1 tackle for loss. Okafor had a great double jump to knock the ball down. He jumped once, didn't throw it. Jumped twice, he threw it, knocked it down. Love it. Davis with a pass knockdown. Again, the Saints are really, I think they've learned from Cam that it's okay to block passes. Like, I feel like they've evolved into this pass blocking team. Snead breaks up an interception attempt.
What are you talking about?
Well, they're like swatting the ball, like constantly. Like they learned it from
Jordan.
Yeah,
I was like,
not like Cam Newton. No, they learned it from Cam Jordan. My bad. I thought you were with me on that one. But I just feel like they were jumping up. Yeah. Yeah, that's right. Yeah,
that's where my head was.
Well, I did just mention the Panthers and Cam Newton, so I understand.
It is late.
Cam Jordan reads the option play, but can't get there in time to stop Lamar Jackson on a 1-yard run. Lattimore tackles Andrews into the end zone, literally just boop, suplex him into the end zone. Lattimore did not have a good game. He probably should have just told them he had a concussion and just stopped playing. The Saints are getting out of position late in this game. Lattimore had a pass interference, then he got beat on the next play. Crawley was coming up big, though, and he was playing really sticky in coverage. That's really the first time I've seen him step up. These teams are going hard at each other in the fourth, and what I mean by going hard is they had a lot of energy. I felt like this was a lot what I'm going to talk about with the Rams game. There's just so much energy popping throughout this game for both teams. The 3-man rush, and Crabtree gets open. I don't know how he got open in the middle of the field. Again, you have 8 in coverage. That should never, ever happen. The Saints have a 7-point lead with 2 minutes left. And that's what confused me because they're just basically playing not to lose. Someone done effed up with 8 in coverage. Lattimore broke off his man, and the safety wasn't even close. And that led to the Ravens should have tied it. But they got lucky because Justin Tucker missed his first extra point in 222 attempts. And he had the look on his face like he was like, what just happened? It was awesome. I love that look, man. I could watch that for days. I think you have a meme.
Yeah, there's actually a meme going around. It's Justin Tucker looking up. It says, me, I'll take a cheeseburger and fries, please. 5 guys. That'll be $34.57.
And then Justin Tucker looking all bewildered. I love that, man. It was just so surprising, because I was like, they never show a point after unless something bad happened.
Right. I was watching and my wife walked in and I was like, watch. He's going to miss this because they're talking about how perfect he is.
Yes, and they said it right before it. I'm like,
every
don't
time.
do that. The commentators screw up everything, man. It's like they like to ruin perfect games. I swear.
It's almost like they know.
Mm-hmm. It's like they know. It's like they send it down to the officials. Hey, tell them to miss this kick.
They're always talking about the spread.
That is true. I feel like next week Crowley could get more work against Minnesota. They're going to be playing at the Vikings again, playoff rematch. I think Crowley's still looking good enough to roster at this point. I saw a little bit last week, but I saw a lot this week that I really, really liked. And I was talking about earlier that I think the Saints and the Ravens are a really well-matched team. I feel like these two teams I could watch play 3 out of 5 series, and I'd be happy. Again, I would love to see them play in the playoffs, but they can't. But it would have to be a Super Bowl. But these two, I think, would be cool if you had something on the line. I feel like that'd be a really fun game to watch.
Mm-hmm. Who was the leading tackler for the Saints? Was it Williams?
It was Klein, 7 for 5.
Where's Williams at?
I think Williams was 5th, I think.
That's surprising. Speaking of Cam, we have the Panthers versus the Eagles. For the Panthers, Luke Kuechly doing Luke Kuechly things, man. He's going 12 of 14 with a sack. His sack was insane. He just what do they call those little flying squirrels? Is that what they
flying
call
squirrels?
Them? Is that what they call them? Anyways, he goes straight flying squirrel down the parted Red Sea, and then the quarterback just folds, and then he tackles him. It was amazing.
I actually was watching that play, so I knew what you were talking about. I liked it too.
Reed goes 6 of 8, and a couple.
He goes crazy eye, bro.
Couple haymakers and a crazy eye.
Dude, he was straight crazy eye, bro. I was scared, and I was just watching the game on TV, and I was scared.
Thompson goes 6 of 8. Adams goes 3 of 6, 2 pass breakups. Addison and Peppers both got sacks, no interceptions, and realize that Todd Davis was not up there. Addison got his sack on a mishandled snap of Carson Wentz. Reed is playing so violently, man. I loved watching him play this last.
It looked like he was back in his first 2 years in the league, man. He was out there annihilating stuff.
He ends up pushing Carson Wentz down at the end of the play, and then Zach Ertz comes out of nowhere to argue with Reed, and Reed power slams him.
Yeah, he just ducks down, flips him up. I loved it.
It was amazing.
Eric Reed crazy, bro. He's crazy.
Dude, he was playing so dominant and making secure tackles.
Well, that's because he got hyped up before the game, man. That dude was straight, stab somebody.
Right.
It was awesome.
I thought he looked great in coverage too. It looked like the defensive coordinator dropped him back into coverage after he started getting that argument with the quarterback and the tight end. He ends up getting a pick, but it is called back. Honestly, I think it was the refs just trying to extend the game and see if they could get it to overtime. Just because it looked like a pick.
Yeah, I thought so too.
The hand was underneath, and I didn't really get what they were saying.
And I was watching the end of the game. I'm like, dude, there's not enough to overturn that call.
Right.
I'm like, they called it an interception on the field.
Right.
I'm like, I don't think there's enough evidence to say this one was incomplete.
Right. I felt the same way, man. Thomas Davis almost forces a pick on a big hit on Carson Wentz. Carson Wentz is just rearing back, and then he hits him like a truck, man, and then the ball just flies up in the air. Luckily, it ends up going out of bounds. He's literally destroying people this game. He's been training with those PEDs. He's ready to go. You have James Bradbury, who got mossed. It was disgusting. Later on, he ends up making a heads-up play to tackle a free wide receiver open for a touchdown. That's really what you want to do. I know a lot of people, they're like, hey, why did you tackle that guy? It's because he would have caught the ball, Alshon Jeffrey, he would have caught the ball and made a touchdown had he not been tackled. K1 Short is unblockable this game. The dude's a freak, man.
Fake news.
You don't think so?
Bro, do you want me to pull up the stats that I got for my fantasy? What I got for my fantasy team?
He looked amazing.
Proof is in the pudding, bro.
But Carson Wentz gets that ball out so fast, man. Not as fast as Red Rifle.
Red Rifle had a misfire last night, didn't he? Why does his picture on Sunday Night Football look like he's about to wrestle somebody? He's got the weird open palms, just like this. It looks like he's gonna wrestle. I thought that was hilarious. Just side note.
One thing I saw often was the scheme that the Panthers were running. They had Adams and Luke Kuechly on the same guy. It's kind of weird. They would double up. And it wasn't necessarily Zach Ertz or anybody in particular. They just always would be right next to each other in coverage. Captain Munnerlyn ends up breaking on the ball in the flats, but he ends up dropping it. Wes Horton forces a fumble, and Kyle Love recovers it. 2 guys that you probably didn't start.
Nah.
Next week they're at the Ravens, and who am I going to be picking up? Who am I going to be starting?
Mm-hmm.
Reed, man. Reed's a beast.
Yeah, I think he's got to be one of the top waiver pickups this week.
Cover athlete.
In my humble opinion. If you can get a picture of his crazy eyes, I would straight put that on the website. I'm dead serious. And they had a really cool thing on ESPN, which I don't watch it very often. I just happened to be home today. Mm-hmm. But they were kind of breaking down why him and Malcolm Jenkins were getting into it, because they're basically fighting the same fight, just 2 different ways. Yeah. Jenkins is about peace, and Reed and Kaepernick are more about justice. You know, that's kind of where they branch off. I had no idea about any of this until I sat down and watched Bomani Jones explain it. And I was like, okay, now I get why they have beef with each other.
Yeah.
You know, it's just, it's crazy. And then he was like calling him a sellout after the game, and I was like, well, he kind of did from what their cause was, so I understand that, but I don't think he's a sellout because he's trying to get peace.
For our listeners, all of them agree to the whole kneeling thing. The only difference is the reason why they're doing it.
Yeah.
And Reed thinks that he was hijacking it, and he thinks it's disparaging of what they're trying to do.
Because he was saying it was getting funding for Jenkins' organization.
Right.
And, you know, but I mean, Jenkins has been doing legislation. I didn't even know about that. He's been trying to affect legislation. He's been going on cop, like, ride-alongs. Mm-hmm. Like, he's trying to do it. You know, I think that's awesome. You know, it sucks that they're on opposing team, but Jenkins had nothing but nice things to say. He's like, I still love Eric Reed. You know what I mean? He's like,
yo, what are
I'm
you
not
doing?
I'm not going to put him down.
What are you doing? Somebody's coming at you crazy like that.
Dude, he's got
and you're being
bro.
a good dude, man.
Yeah. He's like, I'm not
trying to change the community.
I'm not gonna fight you over it, you know. I'm telling you, when Cap ends up going to the Jacksonville Jaguars next week, it's gonna be crazy.
That's a good joke. Anyways,
we've got a joke, bro.
We've got the Philadelphia Eagles. Mills, that cornerback that we talked about being the number 1 corner this season. There he is. 6-7. Jenkins goes 5-7 with 2 pass breakups. Hicks goes 4-7. Bradham goes 5-6. Bennett gets a sack. Graham gets half a sack, and Hector gets half a sack. Surprisingly, there were no interceptions. And honestly, there weren't a lot of calls of roughing the passer. They were playing the what's it called? Carolina Panthers. So Cam Newton kind of gets the brunt of that. I don't know why. It's because he's a big dude, man. Graham is really good at crashing down the line when left alone, and he does not get sucked in. You like seeing that because some teams will run a trap play. They'll shift their line one way, and then they'll have a tight end block that guy down, and then they'll run back the other way on an option. Jenkins was showing off his motor. I think he was charged for this game just because of everything that happened before the game. Barnett ends up blowing up the read option, taking Newton and the running back down to the ground. I was really impressed with that play. If you haven't seen it, Paul, go ahead and check it out.
I will have to.
Dexter McDougal is getting playing time, and I've never seen him before. Never seen him out there. Have you seen him with the Eagles?
A little bit, here and there.
A little bit. Anyways, Mills is playing far enough off in coverage that he's allowing the catch, but he's still making the tackle, and they keep passing against him. You know, you like seeing that. That's kind of one of the reasons why we said, hey, this dude's going to be the top corner. Right now, I think he's currently 5th. He still has a lot of room to make up. I think he's down 11 tackles that I saw before this game. Ronald Darby is tackling with authority, and I love seeing this. He's honestly one of the better corner/safeties that we see. I say corner/safety because he kind of plays that nickel. Malcolm Jenkins gets in Newton's face to force a sack, but it's batted down. Next week they're playing at the Jaguars. I'm going to be picking up Darby or Malcolm Jenkins. Paul, who do you have on your next game?
On my next game, I have the Rams and 49ers. And this game was color rush jerseys, baby, and I freaking love them. I love the gold Ram jerseys, bro. I am such a fan of those. I'm so glad they didn't wear them next week because I just didn't want to be distracted. But, man, this game was a ball-out game. They were playing at the 49ers, but this game was pretty fun to watch if you're a Rams fan. Probably not as much if you're a 49ers fan. But I got to say, the guy that I was really, really liking in this game was Aaron Donald, man. But how could you not like him? I mean, I'll get to him last, but whew, boy. For the 49ers, they were the home team wearing the all-white unis. You had Warner go 9 for 4, Tart 7 for 6, 1 tackle for loss, and Reed 7 for 4. DJ Reed came in for the injured Adrian Colbert, a guy who I really, really like. He's going to be on injured reserve now with a high ankle sprain. So DJ Reed's probably going to be the guy you want to pick up. I don't originally have him in there, but I just found out about the Colbert a few hours ago, so I had to kind of change things up. Early on in this game, Marsh with a sack and then does standing back kicks as a celebration.
Oh, yeah. That's his thing.
Was awesome. Like, I was so glad I got to watch that. Mad props for him to be able to do a standing back kicks, man. Taekwondo or something, man. That stuff was crazy. 49ers are crashing the O-line early, and they're actually getting in the backfield, but they're just not in the right spots. Like, they're breaking through, but they're on the opposite side, or the play's going the other way, but they're getting through the line, which I was surprised about. Tart gets a near pick. Ruben can't bring down Gurley, and he scores. Ruben misses low again later on. Reuben Foster ends up hurting his right shoulder. For those of you who don't know his injury history, that's what's been hurt before. So this may be, again, this is what kept him out a little bit last year, along with an ankle. But I'm more worried about the right shoulder injury. Maybe that's why he was tackling low. Like, maybe he didn't want to put that much weight on his shoulder. I felt like he was trying to lean with his left shoulder more often. I just don't know if that's just how it came out, but that's what it looked like to me, knowing the injury afterwards after watching the game. Weatherspoon gets beat by Cooks for a touchdown. Wasn't much he could do on that play. Tart is being used perfectly. He's crashing the box and helping in the run and pass plays. I felt like this was the Tart show, and we were just witnessing it. That's all we were doing, was just sitting there watching it. Buckner looks good every week I watch him. There's always 2 or 3 plays where he pops off the screen to me. He had another couple plays this week. He did get a sack. Again, the guy just makes some plays every once in a while. It may not be necessarily fantasy relevant unless you have a high-value sack league, but he's been popping, man. I really like watching him. The speed is what was killing the 49ers, and I'm not going to lie, it made me kind of nervous, because if the Rams run with that speed that they had yesterday, I'm going to be worried about Green Bay's defense keeping up with them. Like, it's going to take.
I think y'all have something to worry about already.
It's going to take something. It's going to take an act of God. But I mean, their speed is just crazy. Their offensive line moves so fast. It's really cool with how old their offensive line is, how fast they move. They're really a run blocking offensive line. Armstrong comes in with a sack. I don't see a lot from him nowadays, but it's kind of cool seeing him get one. I really feel bad watching this game after halftime because the Rams just straight murdered them after halftime. Like, I felt like this game was close, even though the score said different, but because I thought the 49ers were playing a really good game, just like the Jets. I felt like even though the score says different, they felt like they were in this game. I do not know how to pronounce this dude's name. His name is spelled Nzeocha. Nzacha is what I'm guessing. Don't know who he was, but he got a block punt for the 49ers. So I lied. I actually have 3 block punts this week because the Rams got one too. What is with the block punts? I just must be
lucky.
I must just be drawing the straws this week to get every week to get the block punts. The next game for the Rams for the 49ers is going to be at the Cardinals. Tart is looking in form for a playoff push at this point if they keep using him in the way they use him this week. I would really hope they're going to do that again at Arizona, playing against one of the worst teams right now. But also look for Reed. You know, he's going to be replacing Colbert, and usually that safety position racks up some tackles. I would definitely keep him on there. If you have an extra roster spot, throw it out there. Might as well. Safeties can never really disappoint you that badly sometimes, and you can always replace them. For the Rams, wearing those all gold unis, man. I love those unis. Littleton goes 10 for 8, 2 sacks, 3 tackles for loss, and a block punt. You have Donald going 9 for 8, 4 sacks, 6 tackles for loss, and a forced fumble. Actually, it shouldn't be a forced fumble. It was a strip fumble. Then you had Brockers going 5 for 4, 2 tackles for loss. If you played Aaron Donald, I don't know what he would have probably scored this week, but it had to be at least 40. It had to be close, man. All he needed was a tutty to put that over the top. It's crazy, man. I've seen one defensive lineman do that before, but man, this is on another level yesterday. Ebakum gets a strip sack and is recovered by Trayvon Young, rookie out of Louisville, a guy that had a lot of personnel issues, but he was looking good out there.
He got 46 points.
Dang, I told you, man, that's crazy. That's probably going to be his highest production game of the year. Cap that as the ceiling.
Well, so far he's had 2, 5.5, 3, 19.5, 8, 10.5, and 46.
Yeah, that's definitely going to be the ceiling. I don't think he's going to be able to get much higher in that one. Littleton gets a sack up the middle through the C gap. I feel like I see this from him every week. Both teams are looking really good early on. Again, I said I felt like this was a really close game. This play for me was one of my favorites because I just watched it so many times. Donald crashes the run. He strips Breida, and he really just straight takes the ball and Breida's soul and rips it out at the same time. Like, the refs were even confused, and they had to have a late call, and they end up giving Donald the forced fumble. What cracked me up about this play is after Donald strips it and rolls over, he basically holds the ball up like a kid trying to show mommy what they did. You know, like when a kid comes in with a little piece of art or like some paper drawings, like, look, mommy, and he's just holding the ball up like, hey, I got the ball. I loved it because he's also sitting on the ground. That's what made it better. That was by far one of my favorite plays to watch. Because it was just so good, man. Not very often you see a D lineman just rip it away in one motion and hold it with the same arm. Donald was just on another level, man. I loved it. Later, Donald pushes the center back into the quarterback for a sack. He's just a straight monster. Like I think I mentioned monster in here a couple times. Yeah, 3 or 4. Littleton blocks another punt. This is his 4th blocked punt since last year. The dude just knows how to get in there, I guess, and get that punter down. I don't know how he's doing it. Every week, I feel like every time I watch the Rams, they get a block punt. The safety was a result of this play, so they got an extra 2 points. Sue uses a high stiff arm to read the running back and then moves over and gets in for the stop. Again, not fantasy relevant, but that's very football relevant. The guy who really impressed me this week on the Rams, surprisingly, besides Aaron Donald, was Troy Hill. I feel like he was everywhere, especially in the second half. He gets a pick over the top of the wide receiver, too. The guy was just, I don't know, maybe just no one knew who he was, but he just appeared. Jackson gets a deflection interception. He has green hair. Why does he have green hair, man? I was so confused when he took his helmet off. I'm like, what? Okay. Like, none of your team color is green, bro. Like, I don't know. Maybe he's money. I have no idea. I was confused. I had to rewatch it to make sure I saw that correctly. I did. Kittle drags Hill as he tried to tackle him. I love seeing manpower out of tight ends. That was just that straight. I'm going to get this first down. I'm going to take you with me. There's 14 total special team penalties for the Rams. This is the most in the NFL this season. That's a lot. Donald gets his 4th sack. And I mentioned earlier, I think it's weird that Mack has been bad while Donald is now starting to ball. And it was like they switched powers. It's like Freaky Friday. I think Hill's an interesting talking point. Do I pick him up? Probably not. But if he has another game next week playing against Green Bay where Rodgers likes to target the guys that no one knows, he could rack up tackles. I don't know. You got one more?
I do have one more. I have the Browns versus the Buccaneers.
Oh, yeah. You saved that for last?
I did.
Oh, God.
All right, for the Browns, we've got Randall going 11 of 12. This guy is balling out of his mind from the cornerback position. 11 of 12. That's insane, bro.
And he playing safety?
Oh, yeah, that's right. He's playing deep safety. Oh, yeah. Sorry, it always
I watch X-Packers.
It messes with me. Buddy Calhoun goes 10 of 10 with pass breakup. Take note, most of these are solos. Kirksey goes 7 of 10 with pass breakup and interception. Peppers goes 7 of 8 with a pass breakup. Garrett gets 2 sacks. Ogba gets 1.5. Ogunjobi gets a half sack. Collins ends up having an interception. And Coley actually gets a safety. Kirksey is playing in the deep middle in a cover 2. It's kind of rare. It's almost like a cover 3. Whenever they line up on man, Kirksey lines up on Howard and he gets worked. In this coverage, he lurks Winston for a pick. Later on, he gets a fumble recovery when T.J. Carey forces a fumble. Jannard Avery recovers a fumble when Myles Garrett forces the fumble. Garrett just comes around the end, and then Winston pulls it back, and then he just punches it out from underneath. It was a beautiful play. Carey is absolute garbage in coverage, though. Didn't like him when he was with the Raiders. Don't like him when he was with the Browns.
Is that just ex-Raider hatred?
Yeah. So I'm going to hate Cooper. I'm going to hate Clement. List goes on. Ogunjobi gets drugged by Peyton Barber on a tackle. That's really rare. Ogunjobi's a huge dude, man. He's kind of built like a barrel. So you saw him rolling around as Peyton Barber's running away. Chris Smith got shook by Winston's pump fake whenever he was in his face. Winston kind of does this iconically. He just like does this like little hand fake, and then he just takes off running. He always does it.
That's what he did when he stole crab legs too.
Right, security.
And then just ducked out.
Denzel Ward never gave up on the wide receiver as he fell to the ground and dislodged the football. That's something you like seeing. This is kind of what we saw with him coming out of college. He goes for the ball instead of the pick. Ward had a forced fumble, but it was called back. Not enough time to develop the catch. Didn't have enough feet. Peppers looks like an animal once again. I absolutely love it. He wrestles a couple tight ends and fullbacks down this game. Him being a smaller bodied dude, you like seeing that. He's enforcing the down and distance. He actually fumbles a punt return and gives the ball up in overtime.
Peppers.
Jamie Collins is diagnosing end arounds for tackles for loss. The very next play, he ends up making a pick. Jannard Avery has so many penalties against himself today, it cost the team. I'm really surprised they were in overtime contention because he caused a lot of problems.
I love that they go to overtime, man. Isn't this like their 5th overtime game?
Yeah, it's kind of poetic, you know?
It's
like
crazy.
You think of the Browns, you're like, oh, okay, this is going to be a last-second win or loss. And Hugh Jackson, man, you know he sleeps with a pistol underneath his head.
Did you hear his press conference?
No.
Where he's like, I think I have the right to go in and start making offensive play calls. I'm like, well, bro, you better start doing it. Because I think, I don't know, after this game, they may have realized that they pulled up Baker Mayfield too fast. They probably need to put Tyrod back in there for a while. But that's just my own thing. I'm not saying Baker's bad. I just feel like he still needs more time.
My thing is Baker's bringing these Browns back.
Bro, just give the ball to Chubb. That's all you got to do. Give the ball to Chubb. Make my roster relevant again. Give it to Chubb.
Next week, the Browns are at the Steelers.
They traded Carlos Hyde away to give Nick Chubb carries.
I'm going to be picking up Denzel Ward. He's my dude. I think he's going to get a pick against Big Ben, and Big Ben likes to throw pick sixes.
I want another tie between these two teams.
That would be insane.
Dude, I would love it.
For the Buccaneers, Levante David goes 7 of 8. Justin Evans goes 5 of 8. Quan Alexander goes 5 of 7 with a pass breakup before going out with an ACL injury and out for the season.
When did it happen?
It was around the third quarter. A lot of people have asked us, hey, should I pick up Quan? My thing is, I always tell him, hey, he's got a PED history, you know, and he's typically out 4 games at the end of the season. It just so happens he's going to be out the last 8 weeks of the season.
Well, I think what's even sadder news is that Jack Sitchie tore his ACL too.
Right after.
That was sadder.
Carl Nassib gets 2 sacks against his former team. JPP gets a sack, Golston gets a sack, and Taylor gets a sack. Again, Quan tore his ACL and is out for the season. Chubb is running through so many Bucs tackles. It was ridiculous. Carl Nassib is having a game of his life against his former team. He's playing man against Duke Johnson on a wheel route. Did you hear that, Paul? Carl Nassib's playing man against Duke Johnson on a wheel route.
Nice.
He shuts it down as well. He gets a clutch sack to get the ball back to his quarterback. David got a forced fumble, and Vita bumped into a running back, and the running back fell down on contact. It was absolutely hilarious.
That's what happens when you hit a wall, son.
Dude, he stuck his belly out, and the dude fell. I like seeing him make tackles from a nose tackle position on the sideline, but only a 1 down per drive player. Ardarius Taylor looks like he is going to be the replacement for Quan and Sitchi. He needs to get his sea legs, though. He looked shook throughout the game. Next week, they're at the Bengals, and I think it's obvious Ardarius Taylor is the guy to pick up. Not much is going to change. He's going to have a lot of opportunities to fill that vacant hole of Quan Alexander and make those tackles. So, do you have another game, or you're done?
I'm done.
All right.
You done too?
Yep.
All right, we kind of alluded to earlier talking about college. This is the time to really start looking at your prospects. There's a lot of guys to watch. Honestly, I would tell people watch LSU, watch Kentucky, those, especially if you're looking for linebackers and cornerbacks. Right now, if Greedy Williams comes out at LSU, he's probably going to be the top-ranked corner. Dude needs to put on some weight.
They also have a stud number 40.
Yeah, they have a couple.
Linebacker.
Yeah, White. Devin White. That's who I was going to get to as well. Thanks for spoiling it for everyone. You have Allen from Kentucky who's straight balled out against Florida still. I'm still liking that game. That's going to be looking really good in the highlight packages. I'm excited for. He's a guy who will definitely be a good one. But again, watch LSU, watch Kentucky, watch. Who else was I had on my waiver or my watch wire? Clemson. They have some guys who are going to be coming out this year too. A lot of top guys, but Greedy Williams is by far the cornerback I'm watching most. A couple Florida cornerbacks, but again, you know the bias. Not huge on Florida. Yeah, I think that's about it for me on this week on college. Not a lot has happened. Hopefully no one gets hurt. That's what I'm worried about at this point.
Yeah.
Is my prospects getting hurt. Because Greedy Williams, the reason I'm nervous about him, because he could go back, because he's only a redshirt sophomore. But he can come out in the draft if he wants to. Dude needs to get some weight. Get them reps. So be watching that. Again, this is the time where you kind of know where your team's at. You're either a contender or a pretender. And if you're like me on IR, you're just praying to God that you just get some more wins. At least that's where I'm at on my team. Your team's still pretty set. So hopefully everyone traded for Nick Chubb or traded away Carlos Hyde when they had the chance.
I actually had a buddy who got, a first and a third rounder for Carlos Hyde?
I think so. I don't even remember the trade, honestly, because I didn't pay attention on it.
I don't know. How pissed would you be if you had Carlos Hyde?
I mean, I have him in the ESPN league, but I haven't dropped him.
Right. But with Fournette coming back, I mean, he's almost worthless, right?
If Fournette stays healthy.
Right.
Yeah, but I mean,
it's one of those like, okay, I got him for a couple weeks. Okay, I don't have him for a couple weeks. Okay, I got him. You know?
Yeah, it's an up and down thing. I don't know, man. I don't know how they're going to work him in. They got to get a new quarterback. Like, I'm sorry, Blake is a cool dude off the field, but he's sucking on the field. Nothing's going to happen with Jacksonville with that kind of play, man.
He played well at the end of the season. He played well earlier this season. He's one of those guys you have to motivate, man.
Yeah, motivation is the best. Again, you can always hit us up on Twitter, IDP Fantasy Empire.
Our website, idpfantasyempire.com. Our email, idpfantasyempire@gmail.com. Our Twitter, @IDPEmpire. We don't have a Facebook, but we're always open to questions. If you guys have any, email or tweet us. That's usually the fastest way to get a response.
Throw us some reviews. Let us know how you feel. We'll always answer your questions.
Yep. And we'll put some of them on air.
Yeah, we will. We'll do another viewer show. All right, so as always, start building your empire
today.